Oh, sweet innocence. I had no idea how much work they would turn out to be. I priced these 7 Tzaangors at a total of 600 Great British pounds. I honestly have no idea what possessed me to think that I'd be able to turn them around to the agreed standard in a time frame to make that price not a lost price for me. But maybe if I'd have used oil paints a little bit more, things would be different. Hi, I'm Tom, and in this installment at Beyond the Box Art, I'll show you the recipes used, explain my process and the problems that I had finding those paint recipes, whilst using the framing of how underpricing a single job can land a small business in financial ruin. We might also get onto the topic of how I'm still here, of course we will, and we'll also be talking about paint ratios in colour mixing and colour matching to box art. If you enjoy the content, then of course you can go and join us at patreon.com/BTBA Studio. Heavy metal box art is almost always, pretty much without fail, incredible. Someone recently suggested to me in one of my live streams that it might have some post-production going on for the heavy metal box art, and I can attest to the fact that their painting is just that good. I worked at GWHQ for about 5 years, and it's just that good. You know, I got to go up, and every week almost something new from the heavy metal teams was in the cabinets there, and for me to gawk at and press my face up against the glass. And it's just that good. And they go to painstaking efforts to get the photographs that they do. Having attempted several replications of the box art myself with varying degrees of success, I can say that the Tzaangor Enlightens are insanely well painted and the hardest replication I've ever attempted to date. Colour matching is always difficult. Typically, I've had to make my own judgments when colour matching the box art, as the recipes shown on various official materials leave you and your finished piece wanting in terms of colour matching quite often. The Heavy Metal Archives recipes as well, they're a little all over the place, and that kind of irks my tism a little bit, not being comprehensive. I wasn't aware of the Heavy Metal Archive until recently a raid from Studio J7 came in over at Twitch, and he showed me the website and I had a gander on it looking for a couple of recipes. Anyone who doesn't know or spend any time over on Twitch, come and join us. It's good fun, where a streamer, you're having a raid, they bring their community over to someone else's stream to continue the live stream experience. And Jay over at Studio J7, who paints to a near box art standard, when he's uncertain of a recipe for a Warhammer miniature, he will often look on the Heavy Metal Archive website for answers. Now, let's talk about something important about this topic that I feel is often not talked about: ratios. Ratios, and why I have an issue with the phrase and the terminology. No one ever defines whether or not the ratios that they're giving you are by volume or by color shift. Do you know what I mean? Let's start with the example using the Heavy Metal Archives gold armor trim recipe that I found when I went looking for what I was after, because I've been kind of learning true metallic gold for the first time, as I'm more of a non-metallic metal painter. They used a base coat of scorched brown and shining gold at a 1-to-1 ratio. What's that a 1-to-1 ratio of, you might say? Scorched brown and shining gold. It says it right there, and you said it just a second ago, you mug. And I'd say, all right, okay, calm down. Maybe we're getting a little off the rails here. Is that a 1-to-1 base of volumes or value and hue? So, right, follow me on this. If you mix most dark brown base colors from GW with one of their base metallic paints, the dark brown, for example, is going to usually win out and shift the color way more in that direction and kill the luster of the true metallic metal more in a 1-to-1 ratio. In general, a high pigment density paint will win out over a low pigment density paint, and a darker color appears to me when I mix with a lighter color to cause more value shift steps based on volume. So as a result, when I suggest mixing colors by ratio, I'm talking about the color shift type. So color shift and hue unless stated otherwise. So to clarify, this might be a bit confusing. If I say a 1-to-1 mix of two colors, I'll be talking about the hue and value middle ground between the two paints. And if I ever want to use the volume ratio method, I'll just tell you for each instance of that. And I think that in general, that's what's intended by GW and Heavy Metal Archive guides when they use ratios. But without clarification and extensive testing, I can't be certain. What do you think? Do GW and Heavy Metal Archivists ratios refer to volume, or do they refer to color shift? And what do you mean when you use them? When you say ratios, what do you mean? Comment down below. The gold recipe, I end up using a base coat of Retributor armor, which is a warm gold true metallic mixed with Rhinox hide, which is a very dark purpley brown, at a 1-to-1 ratio. I was also adding in a touch of white aluminium from Vallejo metal color to retain as much lustre as possible. I followed by adding more shadow with glazes of Nagaroth Night, which is a dark purple, and some thinned out flesh shade, followed by Retributor gold highlights. The recipe finishes with a touch of white aluminium mixed with gold for the final highlights. Really, what I was after when I went looking for recipes most of all was a recipe for the blue skin for these guys. I've painted blue skin, pale blue skin specifically before when I did the Necromantic Crypt Stealers many years ago now, but I didn't write that recipe down, and this is maybe it's slightly different. I always approach a project with fresh eyes, but in retrospect, I should have a blue skin recipe written down, and now I do. Anyway, I was still unsatisfied with the color matching after a couple of different attempts, having looked at a few different recipes, and in the end I ended up going my own way with a simple addition. I used the Space Wolf workup, basically, but instead of using just Dark Reaper in the shadows, I think I use, which I'm not sure if they go that dark, but I use Dark Reaper in the shadows, and I mix it with a little bit of black for a black liner. And for the full list of colors, starting from the darkest one, we're going to go with Dark Reaper, Rust Grey, Fenrisian Grey, and Blue Horror. And the twist was a glaze of electric blue from Vallejo. So basically, the recipe is black to ice blue through cold greys, and you finish with a light glaze of the Vallejo Game Air electric blue, and that was the key. There were a couple of final highlights with ice blue mixed with white on especially the Shaman model, as the Shaman model needed to have slightly brighter skin according to the brief by the client. Now, oil paints and why I should experiment with them more. Recently on a different model, I decided to use an oil wash of burnt umber over a strong base color of blue, and then I take off some of the excess of the burnt umber and then use a layer of white oil to blend in and desaturate the blue and give it all a feel of a cold, dusty, dirty concrete. The results were especially pleasing and grim dark, but most of all, the ease of achieving a smooth blend in combination with the ability to work backwards and remove a prior step with some mineral spirits and a brush make oils a mainstay of my arsenal painting tricks in the future. And in regards to these Tzaangors, well, I used an oil on just the one pair of silvery discs to get the blue recesses done easily and painlessly. But I wonder, would a bright zenithal prime followed by an all-over oil wash of the right mix of blue set the skin for the Tzaangors in the right hue and value with fewer steps and less chances of mistakes? Should I have used burnt umber and a black on the horns? Would dropping them in and wiping away some of the excess down and on the raised details have produced the kind of results on the box art? What I'm guessing is, and what I'm wondering is do the heavy metal team use oil paints? And if so, how often? My guess is that they use them all the time and they're faking us out with this acrylic bullshit. No, look, all jokes aside, I'm too practiced in the use of acrylic paints to be mad at GW for telling us the wrong paints, because I've had to figure out a lot of paint jobs and it's caused me to get pretty good at knowing what colors from what I have on my wall that can get me to where I want to be. But I intend to experiment more, and I'll likely be hoping to bring you with me on that journey of education and discovery using oil paints. I'm a huge fan of Marco Frizzoni and the way that, not just maker, Marco Frizzoni. I would love to experiment more with his techniques of the combination of acrylic paints with oils, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you all along with me. Click on the follow button if you enjoy this content, and I'll be doing more tutorial-based stuff in the future. In the end, I did manage to get these Tzaangors done in close to 8 hours from a rust grey base. This was after having painted the first two, which took a little longer because it's my first time painting this kit, and it takes a few models to usually get up to speed on something a little more complex, but that's just the riders. The discs present quite a range in complexity, and of course there's basing and the twist of Tzeench and warp magic that they're all riding on that needs doing. All in all, each model ends up clocking in, I'd suggest, at least 12 hours, about 12 and a half to 13 hours with building. And then there's the time and materials for packing, delivering it to the post office, paying for the postage, and receiving the initial models as well takes some time. So consider, if you will, me turning a profit in a day like these days, today, in this day and age. Becoming a contributing member of the society that I'm meant to be living in. I'd need to think about paying taxes, and in the rising cost of living and what I must charge per hour to live, that would, at a guess, well, put the actual costs that I'd have to charge for each of these models somewhere in the region of at least £150 each, just for the building and painting. So on that basis alone, this job that I've charged £600 should actually have been more like £1,050. Now, I've spoken with the commissioner about it. I personally kind of love the guy. I consider him a friend. On principle, I've quoted him. He's made an order. I'm obliged to fulfill the order. I'm a man of my word. And whilst there's many things for which the sacredness has been lost in this modern world, contracts have not. And I consider a contract like my word, and vice versa. Thankfully, I'm extremely blessed to have a small handful of supporters who I love and cherish that have helped to keep the lights on and more here at Beyond the Box Art. Notable contributors through gift subscriptions over at twitch.tv over the last few months are as follows: Iron Dragoon 01, Nurgle Matthew, Sir Banana Wanana, Pascal Ruse, Gavin Average, Sharp the Smoker, Bolted Brush, Aphelion, and Old Brogger. Thanks also go to Jimmy the Brush, Elenithil, Mike Moans, Fluent Code, Raumins, and most of the people in the aforementioned list for clicking on the Tangier button when I'm live over there. And finally, to all of the people who click subscribe over there and join the Patreon, Old Brogger again, Sizequig, Aphelion, Raumins, everyone who's in the Patreon, thank you, and anyone who joins, you'll be mentioned in future videos. Keeping the lights on is an understatement. If it weren't for the following people, or the people I've just mentioned, I'd literally have become bankrupt over the month of December. I'm very thankful to be able to keep trying at all of this, thanks to your support. An interesting thought: Painting Tzaangors, like the box art, feels sometimes a little silly. Especially duplicating demons. Especially Tzeenchian demons. They're like the most colourful of the lot, right? And they're changing all the time. Isn't that the whole Tzeenchian point? It's change. There is no constant in life but change. If it were my own army, I'd have some more variety in between the colour choices of these models. So the fact that they're duplicates wouldn't be so close to identical, but that's not what the client was after. Copying the box art pigeonholes me as an artist, trying to match exactly what they do on the box art when it strikes me as though the heavy metal painters getting to paint something from scratch with a basic brief left to their own devices and using their usual painting methods, whether or not that is oils or acrylics or whatever, produce excellent work. They're not confined to it coming out an exact way. So, in a way, is replicating their work harder than it is for them to do it? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, then go, please, if you can, support me at Patreon. Click on the subscribe button here, click on the bell to notify yourself for future videos, and, you know, join the Discord, all of those things. There's a link down below for my link tree that can give you all of the links that you might be curious at, Instagram, whatever it is that's your cup of tea. And thanks a lot for watching. I'll be putting the live streams up of these Tzaangors from base coat to basically completed up on the Patreon, and I'll also be putting up future videos and recordings of future Tzaangors because I'll be painting more of them soon. So if you want to see me paint more of them, then follow me at the live stream. Give me a follow over at twitch.tv. If you want to see paint recipes in full, if you want to get tuition, if you're interested in getting a commission anytime soon, go and join the Patreon. And thank you very much for watching. I've been kind of rambling almost at this point. This series for the Tzaangors, if you want to find out how I've painted them, that'll be available at £3 for a one-off purchase or £4.50 for an iOS purchase. The memberships start at £2 a month, and all the series are accessible for all tiers. Commissioners are asked to become a local hero to be eligible for getting commissions, and that will award you a higher priority if you get a higher tier on the Patreon in the priorities list. In the next few months, I hope to launch the website to sell finished projects of my own at beyondtheboxart.studio, and some really cool video series are being cooked up with a huge variety of miniatures in the upcoming content. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for your time, for your clicks. God bless you. Question everything. Have fun with your hobby. And why aim at tabletop when you can have Beyond the Box Art?